Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, Sonic Yoda from SEGADriven.com, and welcome back to the Sega Driven YouTube channel. You are watching Mega Driving Club, a series all about Sega racing games, either published by Sega or published for Sega systems. In this video we're taking a look at 1988's Hot Rod for the arcade, because interestingly this never got a console port, but it did get ports to the home micros. But let's talk about the arcade version quickly, because that's the source for all of this. It's a lovely little top-down racer. You race against 3 other cars. You can race competitively with another player, and there are items strewn around the track. You've got things like gas and points, which can give you bonus score, used for the shop in between races. The shop, you can basically upgrade your car and do things to it and make it control better, or move faster, or grip better, or brake better. It's pretty extensive in that regard, and you use everything that you earn from the previous race to enhance it. You might recognise the shop theme from a different Sega game. But yeah, it's a lovely little thing. A really lovely top-down racer, lovely pixel art as always, nice big resolution because the arcade game seems to always support a nice big display because they want to really show off what they can do. And yeah, it's what you'd expect from a quality arcade Sega racer, to be honest with you. In regards to the ports to the home micros then, so we've got a few. We'll start off with the lesser sort of powered systems. So we'll start with the Spectrum. So the Spectrum version is a pretty solid little port actually. It runs nice and smooth, good frame rate. The only thing wrong with it really is unfortunately it's got flick screen scrolling, so basically when you get to the edges of the map it flicks sort of to the next screen, and then you play on that for a little bit until it flicks to the next screen, and it's not the best way to play it unfortunately. It needs a smoother scrolling to be more accurate to the arcade version. The Amstrad CPC version is very similar to this. It's just that the frame rate is a lot lower, to the point that it makes it quite unplayable. But unfortunately, because it runs so slow, it's not a particularly great way to play it. Next up, we have the C64 version, which is a really, really solid version of it actually. Probably the best home port onto the micros. Just looks like a really solid port of the original arcade game, just running at a lower resolution, to be honest with you. Maybe not as much feature-rich details with the graphics and things like that. Definitely lower colour palette, but if you compare the two side by side, it's a pretty good approximation of the original. Plays well, runs at a decent frame rate, and yeah, definitely the best of the home micros. Now the last two are very, very similar, clearly based on the same version. They are the Amiga and Atari ST ports. Again, visually quite nice. Not going to have a go at them for the visuals, to be honest with you. And they scroll really nicely and move at the correct speed. The big issue is the fact that the cars are like double the size, meaning there's not enough room on the track really for all 4 cars, which means it just becomes this crazy, knocking each other about fest of a game, and it's not a great way to play it, unfortunately, which is really, really bizarre. You would have thought the the more powerful home micros like the Amiga and the ST would have had a better chance at doing a more accurate take of the original, but sadly not the case at all. For Amiga owners, there is an alternative though. There is a clone of Hot Rod called Nitro, released by Psygnosis. Really, really good little game. Certainly the better, equivalent if you want to play a home version of Hot Rod on a micro. A really good version of the game. It's clearly inspired by the original, so much as I'd say that it was a clone. And yeah, if you like Hot Rod, this is a really good version of the game to play on an Amiga. Interestingly, and I've got to mention this because it's the only time I'm going to really be able to mention it, the cover art features a lovely painting which also previously adorned a fighting fantasy book called The Freeway Fighter, and I didn't know this until very recently. I saw a print of the artwork on sale in Forbidden Planet, and I was like, oh my god, that's the cover to Nitro, I'm going to buy that. And here it is. And then later found out that it is the cover of a fighting fantasy game. So I have no idea whether that piece of art was actually stolen for the Nitro cover or not, or whether it was actually licensed, but it features on both those things, and I didn't know that until after I bought my print. But there you go, nice little anecdote for you there. But Hot Rod is a cracking little game. If you can play the arcade version, you can do it via MAME. It's certainly worth checking out because it's a lovely little top-down racer. Again, not reinventing the wheel too much, to be honest with you. It's not doing anything particularly unique, but it does what it does well, and it looks really nice. Lovely high resolution, lovely graphics, lovely pixel art. Handles really nicely. It's got that sort of super sprint style handling where if you let go of the accelerator you get a nice big drift into the corners and things, and it's just really satisfying to do. But yeah, it's nothing unique. It's not really doing anything particularly special for a arcade racing game, but what it is doing is really good, and it's another strong effort from Sega. Well worth checking out.